All right, let's do some Mathity-Math. It says here, please simplify the rational expression and then identify the value or values that x cannot be. Okay, so when we jump into this, we kind of want to tackle this in two ways. First, let's start with the numerator and then we'll tackle the denominator. So to simplify this, we want to look at each term in the numerator and we're going to try to find the greatest common factors that they all share. So I like to start with the coefficient. And when we look at the coefficients, it does really help to look at the smallest coefficient first. So if we look at the 3, we know that 3 only has two factors, 1 and 3. Well, we're not going to use 1, so we could test and see if 3 works. So you just ask yourself, can 3 divide into 6? Yes, it can. Okay, that one's okay. Does 3 go into 12? Yes, it does. Well, that one's okay. And does 3 go into 18? Yes, it does. So that's okay. So we know that if we started with our lowest coefficient, that's going to kind of be the limiting factor here. Because, for instance, if you went to the 6, the factors of 6 we could use are 2, 3, and 6. Well, 6 works with 12. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And 6 would work with 18. 18 divided by 6 is 3. But 6 really doesn't work with 3 because it's already bigger. So that's why we kind of start with the lowest coefficient and work our way up from there after we do our tests. So we tested 3 and 3 worked. So we know that 3 can factor out of this. Now let's jump to the variables. And again, it helps you to go to the lowest degree of the variable. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so this is the lowest degree. And so because you know that you can take 2x's out of here, you can take 2x's out of here, and take 2x's out of here. And again, you go lowest because imagine if we would try to use 5. Well, I can't take 5 out of 2. There's just not enough. So that's why we always go to the lowest. So I'm going to factor out 3x squared. And then we just go to each term. Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And x to the 5th power, we can take away 2 of those x's. That leaves us with x to the 3rd power. Go to the next one. 3 divided by 3, well, that's just going to be 1. We can write a 1 if you'd like. And then we can take 2 of these x's out. That leaves us x to the 2nd power. We can keep going. We have a negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 3 leaves us with negative 4. And then we can take 2 x's out of that, so it leaves us just x. And we go to positive 18. 18 divided by 3 is 6. And we're taking out 2 x's. Well, that's all the x's, so that just becomes the constant 6. And that's a good step for our numerator. We just repeat this process for our denominator. Again, I'm going to go to my smallest coefficient. The factors of 6, and I can just show it over here if you'd like. The factors of 6, we have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So those are our 4 options, right? We're not going to use 1. So we could test 2 with the 24. It would work because 24 divided by 2 is 12. We could check 3. That would also work. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And we could do 6. And it also works because 24 divided by 6 is 4. Now, we look here and we say, well, I want to use the 3. And you could use the 3 because they would match. But I do think it's good practice to kind of always go to the largest one and work back from there. So I'm going to use the 6 because I know it works. So I'm going to write 6. Then I check the variables and go to the lowest degree. Well, this is degree 1. It's the lowest. I know I can take 1 from the 2. And I also know I could not take the 2 from the 1. So I say 6x. Okay, so just the lowest degree, 1. And we just divide. 6 divided by 6 is 1. We can write that, though we don't have to. And then I can take out one of those x's. 24 divided by 6 is 4. And then I take out that x, and that's that. So at this point, you have all of these terms inside the parentheses, and they're kind of protected, and we're not going to really look at those right now. We're going to focus on what we have factored out and what we can do with it. Now, if you're quick at math, you can see, well, 3 divided by 6 is the same as 1 over 2. But maybe that's not entirely obvious. So what we can also do is then look at this and break it down further. 3x squared is the same as saying 3 times x times x, right? I'll just rewrite my whole numerator just for good practice. Okay, and then we can draw our dividing line. And we know that 6x is the same as 6 times x, but we also looked up here and we know that it's the same as saying 2 times 3 times x. So this is saying 2 times 3 times x. And what this has done, let me go ahead and scoot this down so we can see a little bit more. There we go. What this has done is it's broken these terms outside the parentheses into their prime factors. You see 3, 2, 3, these are all prime numbers. They can't get broken down any farther. And then I'll just go ahead and rewrite my denominator. So now we look at these terms outside of the parentheses, and we can see, well, 3 divided by 3 is 1, so that is gone. X divided by x is 1, so that's gone. And then we're left with this. And at this point, you can leave your answer like this, and it really depends who's asking. Some people prefer you to leave it with it on the outside. So you might be able to leave your answer like that, depending on what you're being asked. Or you might be asked to redistribute it all back in. So if you were asked to redistribute it all back in for your final answer, you would just distribute that x in. Well, 2x cubed times x, that would give you 2x to the fourth. This would give you x to the third. This would give you minus 4x to the second, and this would give you plus 6x. And then you distribute 2 times x, well, that's 2x, and 2 times 4, well, that is 8. And that right there would be also could be your answer, depending on what you're being asked. I prefer this method, but again, as you like. All right, don't forget to subscribe if you would like more math practice, and thanks for doing some Mathity-Math.